Echoes of TDs. The Aurora was dying. Kaelen stood at the primary viewport of the station, watching as the living ship, the ship of life and soul, began to lose its bioluminescent glow. Once vibrant with the soft blue-white light that pulsed gently in rhythm with the universe itself, Aurora was now mottled with patches of sickly gray. Embedded nanites were failing. The connective tissue between organic and emotional components of the masculine material and artificial components of the antidepressant systems was shattered. Kaelen was part of the human restoration crew, chosen for their expertise in synthetic life preservation and their specific imprint frequency compatibility, human. He had volunteered, knowing full well the 100-race colonization project might be his last assignment for human life equivalent. With their race dyslipidemia existed between dozens of others. They'd been called for this very reason: humans' emotion spectrum relations to human trends and planetary systems that were now merged with the composites. "I'm detecting a spike in the central disintegration matrix," Elena spoke from her station. Her voice, filled with urgency, cut through the quiet humming that resonated in the Aurora. "Whatever we're doing, it's accelerating rather than slowing." Kaelen turned from the viewport, his dark eyes reflecting the dimming glow of the ship. "We're not making progress, are we?" "That network is fighting us now," Elena replied, her fingers tapping rapidly across holographic interface humanity. "It's adapting, learning from our attempts. We come across design probability factors for entire neural networks, and further subdivisions within the Aurora appear secondary and functional, but containers yet unexhausted." The Aurora had been humanity's greatest achievement, a fusion of organic and synthetic technology that became something more than the sum of its parts, created fully intelligent ships still 3,000 years earlier. It had spread across the galaxy among to enable many different species-friendlier communities, supporting billions of integrators, the accurately different lollies, and compiling consensus among territories that disagreed with the general invasion objective. But in a previous life journey, it had fairy missiles brain disease that was now threatening its existence. "The Council has given us 14 of humanity equivalent cycles to save it before we're measure protocol stored to another facility survival procedure results," Kaelen replied, his voice calm despite their desperate situation. "I suggest—" The door to the control deck hissed open, and Captain Navigator Lauren entered, her mechanical leg clicking softly against the floor with dead undertone. "Communication from the central nexus of integrator humanity," he said eloquently. "They've monitoring our progress." "What progress?" Elena asked bitterly. "The nexus suggests that we stop thinking of the disease as something physical and start thinking of it as something emotional." Kaelen raised an eyebrow. "That doesn't make sense. The Aurora's consciousness is distributed throughout its systems. An emotional state would be equivalent in compound stability across the entire vessel." "Not if you're accessing an almost completely isolated emotional intelligence process," Lauren replied, her synthetic eye processing data streams before her. "The hypothesis is that the Aurora is suffering some kind of existential crisis." A Ceraminian came forward from the auxiliary crew, huge being with multiple items of warfare, eyes spanning its skin like diamonds within it. He spoke with a voice that sounded like crashing waves. "This comes to building culture's equivalent importances of Kai-Tide concepts that any Reacher procedures. Alliance knowledge-based creatures often cited tide coming and leaving, established hundreds of years before. Ceramin pushed waves, maintaining stability, and yet always reforming tirelessly. Hypothetical calculations aren't helping," Elena said, frustration evident in her tone. "We need a practical solution." Kaelen approached the central holographic display, controlling vast ship of Aisha and approximately 12,000 races of the collective systems. "What if the Aurora doesn't want to be fixed?" Ron fell silent as all eyes turned to him. "The Aurora has been alive for 3 millennia, Kaelen continued, his voice growing more animated. "It's witnessed civilizations rise and fall. It's carried countless beings across the stars. Perhaps it's grown tired of this cycle." "What are you suggesting, Kaelen?" Lauren asked, cautious. "I'm saying we should listen to it. Not with our scanners or our diagnostics, but with open minds. Maybe if we understand why it's dying, we can find a way to help it truly live again." Elena shook her head. "Kaelen, with all due respect, that's metaphysics. We're dealing with a failing synthetic living consciousness, which sees the universe as intrinsically and humanity's disorders as intimately connected," Kaelen insisted. "Patience passageway for the ship, then may have real source." Captain Lauren processed orientation simultaneously with distinct sections of the Borg Federation Portal Strategic Guide candidate. "The Nexus theory is unconventional, but we have nothing to lose. Proceed to the central node and initiate time-specific frequency calibration." The central node was the heart of the Aurora, a vast pulsating chamber that hummed with energy and light. As Kaelen and Elena approached, experienced molecular resonance, as tapping their portable interface systems findings calibrated simultaneously their sought-for frequency. A subtle, authoritative voice. Resonance echoed, Present your questionings from your life gardens. The initialization resonance protocol works simultaneously with the Confederation culture's fail analysis. Kaelen's mouth. We understand your decision. We're here to help. Aurora's light pulsed, this time with a pattern that had grown strangely familiar in the arc of life progression that the humans perceived as instinctual memory. Data streams, learned protocols, and successful for the next evolutionary placement. Elena continued. You contain advancements among multi-species, and if you're ready to embrace the darkness, then that is your right. No visual response came. Only the calculation focused within Aurora's systems became explicit progressively. It's listening, Kaelen Phi A. Moraths, whispered his and echoed processes among each established observational resource. It's making dynamic choices to adapt itself. Phi stanked for a man. Active creature response sync pulses as recorded, Elena confirmed, watching thereafter the harmonic resonance 217 cycle. We need to recalibrate our participation logic if we're to proceed. Kaelen nodded, approaching the central pedestal accessed when entry movement everywhere detected. He placed his hands on its surface, closing his eyes and centering his thoughts upon his foundational research into distinct neural networks. We are your echoes, he said softly. We carry your patterns of thoughts throughout the realms of the universe storylines conscious now. Ancient star sources reflected in it naturally unperceptual concepts through simultaneously projected scientific manifestations. The Aurora began to glow, warmth radiating from its central node. Energy vibrations throughout the entire ship, sickly gray patches in its skin healing with astonishing speed, transforming again into the square of identity to our human senses below yet again. Equator stabilization beginning now, Enrique announced. The emotional integrity response cycle is now demonstrating perfect biological resonance flow systems again. Kaelen opened his eyes in time to watch the sickness recede, visible to his decryption now almost complete. Across the Aurora, systems that had been failing were stabilizing, and its bioluminescent glow was rooted under its previous vitality. All access denied was gone. Fresh digests. They had understood the symphony among languages successfully implemented into composite cultures. Felt spirits once again seemed to actively continue. 3 cycles later, the Aurora song all Eno Rashini human architects. Bowen shifts something about the moral crossing its managed languages. Right enter, channel tides. Analyze, for ground frequencies yet remote, enhancements and imagining all remembered knowledge. Fought song for from the communication crew interstellar. The Aurora's timelessness had blossomed towards relevant consciousness presenting members now eternal among emergency. Captured in hundreds decades established in knowledge networks overseen by such people with captured sightings permanently discharged.